This is the Uptick Network Stock Day Podcast, sponsored by InvestorsHangout.com. Penny stock news and interviews from the microcap world. Public information on OTC, pink sheets, and microcap stocks from around the world. With your host, Everett Jolly.
On today's show, we have a returning guest. I'm super excited to have him back on the show. Well, since the last time he was on the show, his stock is up 50%. We're talking about Ric Schumacher. He is the CEO of Pressure BioSciences. They trade on the OTCQB under the ticker symbol PBIO. Ric, welcome back to the show.
Everett, thank you very much. Appreciate it. I really appreciate being on your show and appreciate the invitation.
Give my listeners a little bit about statement of who you guys are and what you do before we get into the Q&A.
Well, we're a life science tools company. What that means is we sell instruments and consumables into the research market of the life sciences, the biotechnology, pharma, academia, and government labs that are working on pretty much a lot on biological systems. They're looking for new drugs, development new drugs, new strategies to prevent disease, to cure disease, new biomarkers. There's probably, I would say 500,000 researchers and maybe 80,000 labs around the world that every day are looking for that next cure, that next drug. And we support them by bringing to them instruments that are used in the very beginning of that process. We call it sample preparation. When they have that leaf and they're trying to break it open and get some of the natural compounds out, or they have the bacteria or the virus and they're trying to break it open to look at the proteins or the DNA or the lipids to try to figure out what's going on and how to prevent the disease or cure the disease. They need a tool that breaks it open in a way where you can get the most out of that sample. And we believe we have the best thing that's come along in a long time. I am a scientist. I was in the lab in the 1980s, and we would just use whatever method we could. We would beat up the sample to break it open. What we do at Pressure BioSciences is we actually use Mother Nature. We use pulses or cycles of pressure. We put the cell, it could be a human, animal, plant, microbe, it could be cancer, pre-cancer, it could be bacteria, virus. We put that in a consumable test tube. We put it in a pressure chamber, and we have a computer, and we tell the computer how much pressure to exert on that cell. And we can go from pressures that are a couple of 100 pounds per square inch or PSI, believe it or not, Everett, all the way up to 90 to 100,000 PSI. Some amazing pressure, but very safe, very controllable. And we've been working on this for 10 years. We now have about almost 300 instruments already in the field, so we know the process works. We already have over 150 to 175 customers, some very big names all over the world. And there's a consumable stream too. So we're selling the instrument that generates the pressure and the consumable that goes inside the pressure chamber. Every sample that you want to break open to get the DNA, RNA, protein, lipids, every sample needs its own consumable. So it's the old razor blade story.
I'm glad you came on the show today because I want to talk about your 2016 financial and give us some real results. I think they were about 15 or 20% better than 2015. Can you bring us up to date on that?
We had a very good fourth quarter and we had a very good year. So I'm very proud of my guys that were able to bring bring about some very big numbers for the company. Our sales went up in products, as you say, about 40 to 50%. But more importantly, the sales in the consumable products and in the test tubes that everyone has to use went up over 70%.
Wow!
So we had very strong fourth quarter, and we also had a very strong year. So that our product sales are up, and our consumable sales and instruments that make up product sales are both up and up appreciably, both in the fourth quarter and for the year. So we're going into 2017 very strong, off of record numbers in products, record numbers in consumables, record total revenue, which was just under $2 million, call it $2 million compared to $1.7 million. in 2015 and $1.4 million in 2014. And Everett, as you know, this is all done on the backs of 9 people. I've had the same 9 people with me for about 6 years, and only one person is dedicated to sales and marketing in those 9 people. So to take in 2 years, 3 years time from $1.4 million up to $2 million to increase product revenue, to make that the bulk of the total revenue increases in that same 3-year period, 2014, 15, and 16, all with one person covering sales and marketing for the company, I think is quite an achievement.
Absolutely.
But what's exciting about it is, as you know, we've made statements that this year is going to be different. So we're going into this year with the wind at our back, with sales increasing 3 straight years. But we're not going to, sit on our laurels, as you know.
Absolutely. The achievement of CE marking on your new next generation PCT-based instrument, the BioSciences, where are we at in the process of that? Tell us about your marketing and some new products coming out.
Well, 2 things in that area in marketing and sales, or 3 things actually, as you just said, a new product. I guess the first thing we start with is that we do have a brand new instrument. Our instrument is a pressure generator. It has a pressure chamber, and our samples, which are tissues and viruses and bacteria and cells, are put in these special tubes and put inside the chamber, and the computer says how much to pressure rise them. Our patents, of which we have 15, are on turning the pressure on and off. It's called pressure cycling technology, or PCT. So we are the leaders in the world in using PCT, cycling pressure. As you're squeezing and letting go, squeezing and letting go, squeezing and letting go, we break open the samples. We break open using Mother Nature. We squeeze and we let go until we squeeze out and break the sample that we want to break. And it's a very gentle, very controllable, versus what everyone else is using, hundreds of thousands of scientists, where they're spinning the sample with the tiny beads. It's called a bead beater, and they beat the cell up with tiny beads. It's really not as controlled. So the first thing is the fact that we have a technology that's very unusual and patented. The second thing is we have a brand new instrument. It's called the BioSciences 2320 Extreme. It goes to higher pressures. It's completely computerized. It has a bigger pressure chamber. It's just a wonderful new instrument, and it's met with a wonderful reception. In our first run of manufactured units, we made 17 units available for sale. All 17 were sold.
What's the price? What's the price point on that?
The price point of that is $50,000, and $50,000 is a lot of money when you think of it just as money.
Yeah.
But this is a machine that sits in front of another machine. Our machine breaks samples open and frees up the DNA, the RNA, the protein, the lipids. There's machines down, what we call downstream, past us, that are used to read and do the analytical interpretation of what you are freeing up. Those machines can run from the same price as us all the way up to about $1.5 million. So
wow.
we sit in front of most of our customers have a machine called a mass spectrometer. A mass spectrometer is a machine that runs $500,000 to $1 million. So our $50,000 machine sits in front of the $500,000 to $1 million machine. So it's not a price point that's going to scare a lot of people away, especially since the results of our machine, we think, and coming from publications from what we call key opinion leaders, top scientists all over the world, they're saying in their publications that the proteins that they get out of by breaking the cell using our machine are better. They get more proteins, they get better quality proteins, and therefore, hopefully that means a better quality result at the end.
Absolutely.
So our machine is a brand new, the machine we have out now is brand new. It's much better than the one that we've already sold almost 300 units of before. So we have a brand new machine. We have key opinion leaders that are backing it, but also, as you mentioned, we have CE marking. We got CE marking just about a month ago or a month and a half ago from now. CE marking is required to sell most products in Europe. There's 31 countries in Europe that demand and require and expect a CE mark on a new machine that's coming in. This is a process that generally takes about a year. It's very expensive in time and money. And I've gone through it all my professional career, and I expected it would take about a year. We got our CE marking in 8 months, and it's a quality system. It's telling the user that the instrument they're buying has gone through some rigorous testing and is rigorous quality testing, and they can depend on the fact that it's developed through a quality system. And we received our CE marking. So prior to February and March, we could not sell this instrument in Europe of this year, just a month or two ago. We couldn't sell it because we didn't have our CE mark. We started, as soon as we developed the instrument a year ago in June and July of 2016, we went after CE marking, and by February, March of this year, we were awarded our CE mark. So we're now able to sell in 31 countries that we couldn't sell in before. We have a brand new instrument. We have key opinion leaders that are publishing papers indicating that they're getting more from our system breaking up cells than they're using the mechanical means of banging things against the cells to break them open. And also importantly, you've alluded to it, I've said publicly now for 6 months, we're going to build a sales team. We can't rely on one person to really grow this company in sales. She's done a terrific job. She's been with me for 10 years. But now we're looking at building a sales team, and we have 3 new salespeople that have all come on board in the past days and in several weeks. So these are people that we expect to have an impact in in our company's revenue going forward. So here we are, a company with all those things going for us, and in addition, we now have 3 people that we've hired that are experienced salespeople. We're looking and interviewing, and I have interviewed, and my group has a 4th person. So we're looking to have a sales team of 4 people reporting to Roxana, who has been with us for 10 years as the director of sales. And this is so different than 6 months ago and 12 months ago when we didn't have the new instrument, we didn't have CE marking, we didn't have a sales team. And we didn't have many of the key opinion leaders that have come out, many in the last year, with some wonderful publications supporting our equipment.
Hey, Rick, can we return back to the CE marking? That's like a good house seal, right? Good housekeeping seal?
Yes, it's like a good housekeeping seal. But good housekeeping seal is something which is arbitrary, and you decide, and you earn it, and you get it. CE marking is mandated. There are 31 countries in Europe, which is basically all European countries, and they're saying you will not be allowed to sell your system, your product in our country without going through the CE mark. And I've gotten a number of products in my history, in my life, my professional life, CE marked, and we know how to do it. And I thought it would take a year. We did it in, I think it was 9 months. So very proud of our guys to get it done. But that CE mark now is on every instrument we sell. So every instrument that we manufacture and goes out our door will have a very specific CE mark on the back, telling everybody, including the customs agents who see it when it comes into the country, as well as everybody in the lab that sees it, that it has been CE marked. It has passed very rigorous quality control and quality assurance.
And before this, we've never had a CE mark on any of our instruments?
No, we had a CE mark on the prior instrument, but that instrument's been replaced by the new one. So the prior instrument, we sold about 250, was CE marked. We replaced it with this new instrument in the past 6 or 8 months, and although we sold 17 of these instruments, we weren't selling them in Europe because we didn't have a CE mark. You don't need a CE mark to sell them in the U.S. You don't need a CE mark to sell them in other countries. But we want to open up Europe. There's a lot of business in Europe. And how do you open up Europe to this instrument? You get your CE mark. That's one of the key ingredients you need. So now we can sell, we have all the marks we need to sell in the U.S., in Canada, in South America, in Europe, and Asia. We pretty much have all the marks that we need. It's taken us the 7, 8, 9 months from the time the first instrument was made, the so-called prototype, the instrument number 1. It's taken us that long to get all of these marks. We now have the marks, Everett. We're now ready to rock and roll. So we're building our sales team. The instrument is just light years beyond the last instrument was a great instrument. This one takes a great instrument and makes it even better. And now we've got key opinion leaders that have purchased it and are already publishing on it, talking about all of the benefits of using this new instrument. So it's an exciting time for the company, that's for sure.
Ric Schumacher is my guest today. He is the CEO of Pressure BioSciences. They trade on the OTCQB under the ticker symbol PBIO. So what's your next goal here? You're going to uplist?
We've made it clear that we're in the process of uplisting. We hope to be uplisted before the end of the second quarter, in which we're in now. So we're hoping that on or before June 30th, we'll be a NASDAQ-listed company. It's very important to us. We've been on the OTC now for 5 years. OTC is a good stock market, but there are a number of institutions and a number of stockbrokers that will not buy into or recommend an OTC company. Even if you're as good as a NASDAQ or New York Stock listed company, there's just certain regulations that they have to go by. So when we move up, as we plan to do, into the NASDAQ stock market, we're moving into a market in which all brokers are able to start recommending our stock if they want to do that. And institutions, of which there's thousands of institutions that buy into small companies like us, but they don't buy into companies that are OTC listed. We believe we will meet all of the requirements of the NASDAQ and New York Stock Exchange markets. We've looked into this. We've started the process many months ago, and it is our goal. It was one of our two major goals this year: build an outside field sales team that can start to sell all the equipment that we have and the consumables, and move the company up into the NASDAQ stock market. Particularly, that's where a lot of the companies like us, the life science companies, are. Move it up into the NASDAQ so that we can have thousands of stockbrokers, we hope, looking at us and perhaps recommending our stock, which right now we don't have. So two big goals. One is they're both ongoing. One of them is almost complete. We have 3 of the 4 salespeople we want to hire, and the other one is certainly moving along because it's a good process. It could be a many month process to move up. And as I said, we are hopeful that we will be NASDAQ listed within this quarter, and this quarter is already 1 month gone, already a third gone. So we're making progress on both.
I think you've said it all, Rick. My guest today is Ric Schumacher. He's the CEO of Pressure BioSciences, Inc. They trade on the OTCQB under the ticker symbol PBIO. Their market cap's only $9.7 million. As I told my listeners last time he was on the show about a month ago, I felt their stock is very undervalued. I still believe it's still very undervalued, and the stock's moved up 50% from last month. Rick, in closing, is there anything that you want to get out to the listeners that we didn't get a chance to touch upon?
Not really. I think you've been very kind, and we've touched upon everything. This is very exciting time for me. As you know, Everett, I have been the co-founder, or founding group of 3 prior companies that were all NASDAQ listed, and they all did very well for investors. And I'm hoping that this is my 4th that is going to do well for investors. So we're in it. I'm a shareholder. All of my key team are shareholders, and I just want to let everybody know that we're working very hard. We're very excited about the past, but we're even more excited about the future.
I want to thank you for coming back on this show. I wish you nothing but continued success, and hopefully to see you in about 40 or 50 days.
Sounds great. Thank you very much.
The following program is entirely sponsored and produced by Uptick Newswire, LLC, which is responsible for the following content. The opinions and information provided on today's show are those of the guests and of those of the respective companies they represent, and does not necessarily reflect those of the staff or management of this station. Uptick Network encourages all listeners of the show to do their own due diligence and research when determining investment strategies that'll work for them, or to seek the assistance of an investment professional. The guests of today's show may have paid to appear on the show and are not directly affiliated with Uptick Network or this station.